But first and foremost, welcome back to College Park, Molly. Alexis, good to see you again. You never keep us updated on what dope stuff you're doing these days. We're glad to see you're doing well. But we're excited to have y'all here. First and foremost, informational interviewing and networking is something that is super important and integral to not just the college athlete experience, but to really life. And so I know someone, I think Alexis texted me yesterday and said, Molly, you're the best person to have for this because it's actually through LinkedIn that you and I got connected and found ourselves in a spot now where we're able to facilitate similar concepts to the students that we have on the call. But Alexis, we know you're MVP, but Molly is going to be the MVP today. And so we have Darby Welsh, who's our programming intern in our student athlete development unit this summer, who has an introduction for you, Molly, before we go ahead and get started.
Amazing.
Thanks, Tim. So I'll start out. Molly Dreska is the Senior Communications Manager at Major League Soccer, where she is passionate about growing the game of soccer in North America through content, relationships, and innovation. She graduated from the Robert H. Smith School of Business at the University of Maryland and was also a starting midfielder for the women's varsity soccer team, where she led the Terps to a Sweet 16 appearance in 2009. She began playing soccer at only 4 years old to follow in her big brother's footsteps. And after a tremendous career at Maryland, she also played as a reserve for the FC Kansas City in the National Women's Soccer League. Soon after graduating college, she pursued a career inspired by her love for the sport, where she started as the tournament director at Soccer Excellence International. Before her role with Major League Soccer, she also worked as a content producer for the U.S. Soccer Federation during the 2015 World Cup campaign, as well as a communications and digital manager for Sporting Kansas City. As a senior communications major, Molly shows the world the people behind the jerseys and the product on the soccer field through storytelling and media placements. Molly is the epitome of translating love for the game into an inspiring and successful career, showing how eligibility may expire, but involvement and contribution to the sport doesn't necessarily have to.
Molly, the floor is yours. Welcome again. Am I frozen? No.
I can hear you.
Lex, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, Molly must have it. I'll wait till she get back. Well, Lex, for those who do not know you, you want to give a background in regards to who you are and really what's your story?
Yeah, Molly was gonna do that after she introduced herself, so I may do it again if she asked me to, but or tell her that I did. But hi, I'm Alexis. I just recently graduated in the spring with my undergrad degree, and I'm coming back for my 5th season of soccer because of COVID, but also to get my master's at the business school. Did I say I play soccer? Yes. Okay. I play soccer. I actually know Darby because we went to high school together. But I also did internship last year, so during the pandemic. So we did it all through Zoom. And I do have to say that this actually really helped me, especially in terms of contacting people with emails. And I still use my email signature, Tim. So, and people tell me that it's good. So Tim and Risa give a lot of good advice. So make sure to keep that in mind when networking and stuff, because it actually helped me get to where I am right now, which I worked this summer with the MLS with Molly actually. And she was able to get me this opportunity because I reached out to her. And she's been helping me try to figure out what I want to do with my life because still trying to figure it out. But she's been really great in helping me. And I know she's also talked to Lou too. And so she's really excited to work with Terps because she loves Maryland. So, yeah.
What are some of the things you've been doing so far this summer in your role?
So I will say there's a lot of meetings. Yeah, there's a lot of meetings back to back. And there's a lot to talk about, but I've been helping with they do a little writing thing called the pitch. So they have a bunch of stories that they come up with. So I help write those and go to meetings and help come up with ideas for that. So because I'm working close with Molly, she's honestly she's networking me through MLS to get connected with more people throughout the department because it is so vast, which I actually have an informational interview with somebody in the MLS tomorrow in a different department. And so she was able to get that for me. So I'm still networking now, even though I am where I am. And so she's trying to help me, make my way up. So yeah. It's only my second week, so more to come. I'll have more to tell you later.
It's making me happy. No, I appreciate that, Alexis. I know we'll learn more about your story throughout the rest of the hour. Molly, can you hear me now?
I can. I don't think my computer liked me trying to share my PowerPoint, but we know that it's not what happens, it's how you bounce back from obstacles. So Tim's introduction, I'll try not to disappoint, although this was a pretty bad performance. Thank you, Alexis, for saving me. And Darby, thank you so much for that intro. That was so kind of you, and you really did your research. I think for those of you, just to add a little more color, I was email exchanging with Alexis earlier today, just about the things that we used to do when I was in school, and if those things are still happening. So I was saying things like, I went to study hall too it was called Comcast then, but it's Xfinity Center now, but maybe it's updating to Gossett soon. I got my ankles taped at the varsity team house, probably like many of you have. I did the beep test, which apparently there's a new fitness test in town for any of the soccer players that are on this call. So I'll have to get myself a little bit more familiar with that. And then I was saying, and of course we had late night and all the countless chocolate milks from the D hall. So I was asking her if that's still the best option, and she said waffles are more the thing. But thank you. It's so good to meet everyone. And I think the first thing that I'll start with is just good job. You're here. I think like fitness, right? A 6 a.m. fitness, half the battle is showing up in the morning. That's life too, right? So you're already here, but then the other half is what kind of effort are you going to give that day? And so today, all that I ask from you is just give your best effort. That might be different for everyone on the call. I don't know who's had training today. I don't know if everyone's in the off season. So for some of you, that might just be listening. For some of you, that might be engaging in the Q&A at the end. For some of you, it might be taking a piece of information and using it later in life. So all that I ask is try to do your best today and just give some effort. So to kick things off, I actually couldn't really, I know that I'm supposed to be teaching a class, but since this is my first foray into teaching classes, I need your help. And I know Alexis said, I'm not sure, Mal, you remember when you were a student athlete, are you just gonna talk on a call with 30 people? And I was like, I don't know, but I have faith. I think that this is I'm gonna give an easy assignment to start things off. So the first thing we're gonna do is go around and introduce ourselves. I need to know who's on this call and who I'm talking to, because we're talking about networking. That's what this is, right? So the prompt is simple. It's to say, well, it's not that simple. It's to say your name, to say what sport you play on, and then what's your dream job? What do you want to be when you grow up? So your wheels might be turning. There's no wrong answers, but try to say something. So I'm going to kick it to my colleague. I think Alexis might have already introduced herself, and I've asked her to join us today because I think she will have incredible insight for all of you from, I'm about 10 years out now. She's just finished and stepping into her first year, transitioning, even going back to grad school and playing soccer, but still kind of one of her first forays into a job after internships that she's done. So I'm going to kick it to Alexis to start us off. And then after she introduces herself, she's going to pass it to somebody else. So we're going to play some Zoom sports. Go ahead, Alexis.
So yeah, you already know my name and my sport, but in terms of what I want to be when I grow up, I think it's really nice I'm getting this real world experience with the MLS because as of right now, I don't really want to play professionally. So in that side of sports, but I really want to be involved on the other side, which is why this communications and PR has really interested me. And so I think I'm trying to stick with that for right now. Next person, let's see. I see Addie on here, so Addie, you go.
Hi, my name's Adelie. I'm also on the women's soccer team, and I'm currently a communications major. So this is right up my alley. I definitely want to stay in sports. I'm considering playing internationally for maybe several years after I graduate, but after that, I would really like a job in sports. I love college sports especially, so that would be a dream of mine. All right, and then I will pick BB.
Hi everyone, I'm Bibi. I am on the field hockey team, and I want to go back to the Netherlands where I live and play professional field hockey there and become a doctor. It's my goal in life. And I choose Noelle.
Hi, I'm Noelle. I'm on the field hockey team as well. I want to actually coach collegiate field hockey after graduation, but I know that's not gonna be like my long-term goal in life. So after that, I'd really enjoy going to communications or PR in the sports field. And I'm gonna give it to Christina.
Thanks, Noe. My name's Christina Calandra. I also play on the field hockey team. And my dream job would be to work in a communication or PR department at a professional sports team. I'm gonna choose Will.
My name's Will Chorus. I'm on the golf team, and my dream job, I kind of have two paths. I want to play professional golf and then get into college coaching at some point in time. And I'll pass it off to Sonia.
Hi, I'm Sonia. I'm a rising senior on the gymnastics team. My dream job would probably be an attorney for either like a professional sports team or athletes in general. And then I'm gonna pass it to Lexi.
Hi, I'm Lexana. I'm also a rising senior on the women's gymnastics team. I'm a family science major, and I'm hoping to pursue a PhD in clinical psychology, and I want to be a child and family psychologist. And I'm going to pass it to Hope.
Hey Molly, gotta say, seeing my two favorite people work together literally makes me so proud of you, Alexis. So my name is Hope. Obviously, I'm a senior on the women's fifth year on the women's soccer team. My dream job is to become a general manager of a WNBA team, and I'm gonna pass it off to Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a rising senior for the women's soccer team. I'm majoring in graphic design, so my dream job is to work as a graphic designer for a professional sports team. And then I will pass it off to Taylor Whitmer.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm a rising senior. I'm on the women's soccer team as well. My major is psychology, and I actually just started the internship at a counseling center, and I'm enjoying it a lot. And I hope to go to grad school for clinical psychology, hopefully be a psychologist. I just don't know which path I want to do yet. That's my dream job. And I'm going to pass it off to Key.
Hi, I'm Kiera. I'll be a junior in the fall on I'm on the women's soccer team. And I am hoping to go to medical school. I don't know, maybe right after college, or maybe like a gap year in between or something, but we'll see. And I'll pass it off to Claudia.
I'm Claudia. I'm a rising junior on the cross country and track teams. My goal is to become a physician assistant and hopefully be working in dermatology. I'm going to pass it to Whitney.
I'm Whitney. I'm a rising junior on the track team. And my goal is I want to go to med school also and like get a certification in prosthetics and orthotics. And then I'm gonna give it to Mackenzie.
Hi, Molly. I'm Mackenzie. I'm a rising senior on the track team, and I'm a public health major, so I'm hoping to work in probably health equity and education. Oh, and I'll pass it to Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm a rising sophomore on the track team. I'm majoring in computer science, and I'm just hoping to find a career as a software engineer. And I'll pass it to Joe.
My name is Joseph. I'm a rising junior on the men's track team. My major is information science, and my career goal is to do something in cybersecurity. I don't know what yet, but I'm just going to focus on cybersecurity. And I'm going to pass it on to Kamari.
Hello, my name is Kamari Trups. I'm a rising sophomore on the men's track team. And my career goal is to become a software engineer for a major tech company. And then after that, become a chiropractor sometime in my life. I'll pass it to Joe. Is Gerald here?
We already had one Joe go. Did everyone go? Did anyone not go yet?
I haven't gone yet. I'm Maddie. I'm a rising senior on the volleyball team, and I want to become a pediatrician. Is there anyone else?
Oh,
Austin.
I also haven't gone. Hi, my name's Austin. I'm a rising junior on the women's gymnastics team. I'm a bio major, and my dream job would be to work at a radiology practice with x-ray and MRIs, and like specifically for like student athletes or like orthopedics.
I can go
I
next.
haven't,
On yet.
oh, my,
Do you want to
yeah, I
go?
haven't gone yet. Yeah, I'll go. I haven't gone. My name is Aura. I'm a sophomore. I'm a general biology major. I'm on the football team, and I want to go to med school. And my dream job is to be like a sports medicine physician for a college or professional team. And then Taylor, you can go now.
Hey, Molly. I'm Taylor. I'm a rising junior on the softball team. I'm a communications major, and my dream job is to work sports comm for Major League Baseball, or possibly going to coaching is also a consideration.
I also haven't gone yet, but hi, I'm Cameron. I'm a rising senior on the track and field team. I'm a bioengineering major, and my dream job is I hope to go to medical school and become a sports physician for either a college or professional team.
I haven't gone either. I'm Emma. I'm majoring in psychology, and I honestly don't really know what I want to do, but I know I want to work with student athletes. So, yeah.
I haven't gone either. Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm a rising junior on the women's softball team. My first path is to play possibly professionally or in the Olympics for softball. And then my second path is to become a forensic investigator because I'm a criminal justice major.
Hi, I haven't gone either. My name's Darby. I'm on the women's lacrosse team. I'm majoring in bioengineering, and my dream job would do military design testing for either the Army or the Navy.
Hi, I'm Maria Victoria, and I'm on the women's golf team, and my dream job is to become a hospital director. And yeah.
I'm Angela. I'm also on the women's golf team, and I'm a business management major. And right now, my dream job is to become a college coach.
Hi, my name is Riley Donnelly. Sorry if my connection's a little bad right now. I'm in the car. I'm a rising senior on the field hockey team, majoring in bioengineering, and my dream job is to work in the biotech industry.
Hi, sorry, I just hopped on, but I'm Amber and I just graduated from Maryland. So I was on the women's tennis team and I'm getting my master's in health administration. So my dream job is probably to work in a hospital setting with administration.
that everybody? I think Molly, internet. Alexis, you still here? Trying to find everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll give it a second for Molly to pop back on. Boom, boom. But Alexis, while you're here, one question I was going to ask before Molly jumped on earlier again. Given that you did the internship last year, again, we didn't talk before this, so I'm curious to hear what you're going to say. Like, what was your biggest takeaway, like leaving intern, going into your last year as an undergraduate, and then pursuing, post-grad internships and full-time jobs now?
I think stuff like this, but also just the resources that you and Risa have given us, and like those small groups where you talk to us, and you also had us write every week about what we did. Do they still do that?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I think that kind of helped me narrow down for myself what I really wanted to do, because what I heard from other people is that some people don't really know what they want to do. So I was a psych major in undergrad. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And in some aspects, I don't really either. I know I still like sports comm and PR, but like I said before, I'm still talking to other people within the department and within sports, so that could change. But through internship, talking with a bunch of people, not off the record, but kind of just asking their experience also kind of made me feel more comfortable about not knowing what I wanted to do, and stuff like that. So I'll say the resources that Tim and Risa gave us in terms of writing emails and also the weekly reports, it kind of just helped me, kind of like journaling, but it kind of just helped me kind of dig deep into what I really wanted to do, or as a North Star. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Sorry, Molly. I lost you again.
I'm 0 for 2. I'm 0 for 2. With that said, I hurried up to Cameron. I'm not going to make those that went after Cameron repeat themselves, but after this, shoot me an email. I want to know what your North Star is, because that's going to help us get you connected to the right people. I'm going to try, third time's hopefully the charm. I'm going to try sharing my PowerPoint one more time. If it doesn't work, we'll just move on without it. Just give me one moment. Did it work that time?
You're good.
Uh-oh. All right, gotta go backwards. Okay. All right, so what is networking? Alexis is laughing. What is networking? So we just talked through what everybody's dream jobs are, but I'm curious what this group, now that everyone's a little bit more comfortable, we introduced ourselves to each other. I suspect this is the part that people might not want to shout out answers, but I'm looking for some people to help me out, and then I've got some people in the crowd that I've already pre-planted some seeds with. So, but I would love to hear from the group. This is a good opportunity for me to get to know some of you that I don't already know. So, what is networking? I know Tim and Risa have been teaching you everything about it.
What's up, Hope?
I would say networking is just really making relationships with people in your field, whether that be getting to know what they do in their job, whether you talk about your goals and what the direction that you want to go in, or more of just an opportunity for them to get, get to know you. And so they can see what kind of goals you have and your tools that you could bring moving forward if you would fit in an organization for them, or if they know of a place where you could fit in.
I think that's a great answer. I want to narrow into when you said someone in your field. Elaborate that a little on that a little bit.
Well, I mean, like if you're trying to work in college athletics, and you know that you want to work in the academic side, I mean, you would just make that known. So if they know somebody like who works in a college athletic department that you could either mentor with or intern with, just the kind of the direction that you want to go towards.
I like that answer. I think that's definitely true. I think something I heard actually, I did my homework and I did a little studying before this, and I watched Tim's presentation on LinkedIn. And I think I saw Christina on here today when we were doing intros. I think it was the same Christina, but she asked a question and said, how do you make sure, she said she's connecting with a lot of athletes on LinkedIn and fellow student athletes, but how do you make the right connections? And so I'll just put that out there. I'm going to take some more answers, but just think about that a little bit. We're going to come back to it later. It looks like Austin also has a hand raised.
I was going to say networking is like making connections and relationships with people like in your desired field, and like kind of a little bit of what you just talked about, especially using like LinkedIn to do so.
And Riley, I don't know if your answer's already been taken, but I see your hand raised.
Hi, yeah. I just basically said that networking is forming connections. And I don't know if it necessarily has to be someone in your field, but maybe someone that can also help you form a connection with another person, perhaps in your field. But also just making your brand known and learning about other people's as well.
That's good.
Good answer.
It's good.
Let's do one more. And forgive me, I know you said it earlier. Is it Adelie?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, go for it, Adelie.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, just using like your resources to get yourself like ahead, I guess, and just reach out to people that you're unfamiliar with, and just gaining that extra experience and building the amount of people you know and talk to.
Awesome. All amazing answers. You can tell that Marilyn Made is working and that Tim and Reese are doing something right. You guys are crushing it. I think I look back when I sat in your seat, and so many mentors, educators told me you need to network. It's such an important part of success. But I would think, you know, even if I met them in person and they said, hey, send me a note after this. Like I think I told some of you just now, send me a note after this. And I wouldn't do it. And it wasn't that I don't work really hard or do things that I'm told I always do. But for some reason with networking, I just felt inferior, like I was wasting the time of the person that I was talking to and that I had nothing to give to them. And so I think you're all spot on when it comes to connections, but I didn't do these things when I was in your seat. So I'm actually gonna, that's why I brought Alexis here to be the expert. I'm gonna toss it to her and let her tell the story of how we met and how she's actually in the position that she is. And it's definitely through networking, right? So go ahead, Alexis.
Yeah, I would say too that I really didn't like networking either. My parents used to always, I used to always try and tell them somewhat of my interests, and they used to try and network me with people, and I would never reach out, or I would, and I feel like the conversations didn't really go anywhere because honestly, I wasn't as interested. But I think the way I met Molly was our assistant coach, Carrie, actually forwarded an email that Molly had sent out to her about a ESPN W Summit. And I think it was last year, so my junior year. And at that point, I was like, well, I need to do something in terms of making a professional impact, because I didn't think I was going to come back for my 5th year either and go to grad school. So I wanted to get a job. So I decided to email her back because she was a Terp and she played soccer. So I was more comfortable doing that just because I knew there were interests between us, even if I didn't know that communications was something I wanted to do. So I just reached out to her. She got back to me. And then I actually am pretty sure this was during internship, Tim. So I think this was during internship, which is how I was able to figure out how to format my email. So keep that in mind. And I jumped on a call with her, and I think it lasted a really long time. Well, longer than a lot of informational interviews. I think it lasted like an hour, almost an hour and a half, just because I introduced myself, but then we connected, not about jobs or anything like that, just on playing soccer and going to Maryland. And then I leaned into what I wanted to do, but I was honest with her that I really didn't know. And I think too, with networking, I've really taken that, and I'm honest with myself when I talk to people that I don't necessarily know what I want to do. I'm going to stay honest with myself, because if I tried to say something that I thought I wanted to do, I would just sound like it just wouldn't sound right. And a lot of people are more understanding than you think, especially the people who used to be student athletes, because they were, like Molly told me, that's pretty much where she was. So yeah, I just have reached out. When I reached out to her, she was nice to reach out to other people, and it was kind of a thread. And so I looked through the people that she sent me, and not all of it was sports comm. It was all different types of things that I might be interested in. So I just kept reaching out to people. And when you reach out to people and you say you don't know, the more vast context they give you, and then you can go and choose from there. So yeah, that's kind of how we met, and now here I am. So I give all thanks to her, because she has actually really helped me a lot. So yeah.
No. You did all the right things, and that's why you're in the position that you are. A lot of the things that I didn't do, and we didn't have Maryland made. So I think you all are in a good position, because now you're, what I always like to say is, going through the transition from the locker room to the boardroom. And I think that's so important, because for me, it was like graduate and then try to figure it out later. You're all doing this now while you're still in school, and when you have extreme resources. So when we talk about networking, you have so much at your fingertips just being at the University of Maryland, which is amazing. And so I think everything Alexis said, retweet, yes, she did all the right things. The one piece that I will push you on, because I did not do this, is it's okay to say, I don't know. But for people to help you, you have to have some idea. So what I always talk to everyone about that I talk to is, what is your North Star? Your North Star isn't there forever. And I think I might have heard Alexis mention it earlier. But your North Star isn't forever. It might move, right? So, but you need some sort of goal, right? It might not be a job, but it might be, I heard someone say, I want to work with students. And so that's good. That's something that gives me direction of how then I can help you and who I can connect you with next. I brought it up earlier, but I'm going to go back to the comments that Christina made on the series webinar with Tim on LinkedIn, talking about student athletes and how you're really, and a couple others that mentioned, we really want to get in touch with people in our field, or the field that we think we want to go in. I think what I realized is I didn't know what I wanted to be, and the field that I thought I might want to go in, I'm in soccer, so that's kind of transitioned, but I didn't know about all the other fields. I was so impressed today just hearing all of you talk about the different jobs that you want and what you want to be when you grow up. When I was sitting in your same seat, I might have said, I probably would have said, I don't know. But if I tried to copy someone else's answer, I would have been like, yeah, I want to be a coach. I absolutely don't want to be a coach. I know that now. But at the time it was like, oh, I want to be a coach, or maybe I want to work for Under Armour because they were the major sponsor of Maryland. And that's what I knew. So I think for all of you that came up with a bunch of ideas that are pretty specific, that's amazing. But just because that's what you're thinking now doesn't mean that's what it's always going to be. You'll look at the picture that's on the screen right now. Coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, this was my college roommate, Maureen Dowling, now Maureen Galkin. She is currently the Senior Director of Partnership Activation for the Columbus Crew, which is also an MLS team. We took completely different paths. She actually interned with DC United when she was in college. And now we're working in the same industry, but we were just teammates. So when you say like, oh, connecting with student athletes are amazing. You all are going to go on and do incredible things. So this is the group of people you want to start with. And this is where you get your practice. And so networking isn't just connecting with somebody to get ahead or to get a job. You're not going to go to somebody and say, hey, will you hire me? That's not how it works. It's like just being a good person and being a good friend and being a good teammate, that can turn into long-lasting relationships that can end up getting you a job years down the road. So you're not being friends with these people because you think they're going to get you a job in 10 years. You're being friends with these people because they're your teammates, they're your peers, and you're all good people. So it's not this scary word that I think we've built networking up to be. It's just being you and just connecting and learning and listening. So when we ran around, my mistake when I was in your seat was, you probably saw me like drastically writing down notes because I don't have the best memory. So I want to like remember everything. But when I was in your seat, I was so worried about my 2 seconds of speaking that I wasn't concentrating on anything anyone else was saying. I was just like, oh, I don't want to mess up when I speak. And it's okay if you're feeling like that. That happens to a lot of us. We don't love public speaking. So you think about what you're going to say when you get in front of the camera. But I think what I would challenge you to do is think about what everyone else is saying when you're going around and really hearing and saying, oh, so-and-so, is it Mackenzie wants to go into public health? Well, maybe I know somebody that I can connect Mackenzie to. And maybe you just introduce them and then see where it goes. So that is one of my contacts for Maryland. Look at this page. I tried to throw in one in there that you might all know that's a little bit, that's a little bit younger than me. But all 4 of these guys currently play in Major League Soccer. And these players all went to Maryland. And so do we know who the bottom left is?
Donnie Pines.
Yeah, woo! So I guess some of you must have went to school with him. We're so excited to have him in the league. But again, this made my life so much more comfortable as I was transitioning into PR, knowing all of these talented athletes. So a lot of you spoke about wanting to play pro sports. There's a lot of players that came from Maryland that are currently playing pro sports. So those are contacts that you might be asking, hey, how did you make the transition? Who did you talk to? How did you get recruited? And all of those things. So it's not just in the front office, but it's also if you want to go on and keep your playing career going. One thing that I found interesting, I think it was actually Noelle, and apologies, I'm going to put you on the spot and just ask. You said you think you want to coach after college, but not long-term. Then you'd want to go into comms. And I'm curious why you say not long-term.
Well, I'm currently a youth coach. I've coached a club for like 5 years now. And I just know the day-to-day schedule of like a college athlete. I know like down the line, if I want to like have a family and stuff, I don't want to travel that much.
Okay.
I want something more stable after that.
Okay, that makes sense. I wanted to make sure because I think, again, when I was in your seats, I didn't see as many female coaches. So I want to make sure that just because you might not see a female coach in a certain role, that it doesn't mean you can't move up to the highest level of coaching at whatever sport it is that you want. I just think like that. Think big picture, right? If I wanted to coach an MLS or I wanted to coach an NWSL, just think like that. And I didn't think like that. So those jobs, there was a whole section of jobs that was just off the table in my mind because I didn't see other people doing it that looked like me. So, okay, here's a good one. What skills do student athletes have? Come on, fire them out. These are easy. Oh, I'll call on people, I see. Okay, Noelle?
Time management.
Good one. Courtney?
Leadership.
Good one. Oh, I'm gonna mispronounce your name. Say it for me.
Lexana.
Lexana. Oh, so easy. Next one.
I would say like working with others or like teamwork.
Good one. Darby.
I was gonna say teamwork too.
Good one. Whitney.
Dedication.
William.
The ability to take or handle adversity.
Amazing. You guys crushed it. You gals crushed it. I just jotted down a few, and you said most of them. And so look at these skills. These are the things that you're learning as a student athlete. If I'm an employer, I want somebody with these skills. And I think my misstep after school was knowing that I was good at soccer, but not knowing what that translated to. These skills are transferable skills. So that means anything that you can take and use in a different role. So yes, you've learned them through your sport, but you can take these and these will help you to be good at any job that you want, right? One that I wanted to kind of zero in on this list, I don't think anyone mentioned, but it wasn't something I knew about until more recently. I don't know, I think it's more in the curriculum now, but growth mindset. Who here knows what the growth mindset is?
I do. Oh, sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Christina.
The growth mindset is like a huge thing, especially in like USA field hockey and youth field hockey. I feel like we talked about it a lot as coaches. I also coach with Noelle, so I know like we both use this. So instead of saying like a strength or weakness, we could say our strength and our growth area. So we're not thinking of it as a weakness. We're thinking of it in an area that we can grow and get better in.
Yep. Noelle, did you want to add anything to that?
The only thing I'd add is just pretty much the whole time. So like when we're coaching and teaching a new skill, we're just like, it's okay if you fail as long as you're putting yourself in position to do something new.
Exactly. It's looking at anything, obstacle, challenge, everything as an opportunity to learn, right? And I think when I was, again, in your seats, I just didn't have that guidance. And so when I saw something scary and hard, I wasn't going to try to attack it. I think on the field, we all do that. On the field, we want to be the best and we want to try the hardest plays because we are so confident in ourselves that we're going to be good at it because we've done it our whole lives. I think with work, I wasn't attacking work and the rest of my life with the growth mindset. I was scared and I was nervous I wasn't going to be good. But I think taking every opportunity, and this is something just in a couple of weeks that I've seen Alexis do, every project we've thrown her way, yes, I want to do it. Put my hand up. I want to be in charge of that. And that is so important. So I think many of you are probably thinking differently than I was, which is a great thing. So you might not even need to hear this. Okay, informational interview. This is another one I'm throwing to my expert. What I think okay, we're going to pull up the email that Alexis sent me. And so like she said, I was receiving a lot of inboxes on my LinkedIn from students, not just student athletes, but students all across the US during the beginning of the pandemic saying, hey, I would love an informational interview. And so I started having these conversations and I started to realize I was speaking to some students that had maybe done 5 internships by the time they were a junior. And I was like, yikes, and non-athletes. And I was like, yikes, I don't have much to offer someone that's done that. They're doing all the right things. They're doing more than I was doing. But I noticed when I was talking to athletes, and sometimes even I'm a senior or I'm a junior, I haven't done any internships, I haven't done this, like that was me. I'm not saying you should put yourself in that situation. It doesn't seem like you are. You're all here, which means you're all already thinking about your next step. But I didn't do that. And I'm still doing well, right? I have a good job. I love what I do. I have great colleagues and I'm happy and I'm working in the sport that I love. So things worked out, but there's a real, and I've said this before when I was talking to Megan from the Maryland Need Department a couple weeks ago, but it's a difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary, right? So, and I'll talk about my mentor a little bit later, but we're about the same age. And she's a senior director and I'm a senior manager. And so it's things to consider. If you're getting ahead of this and doing these things now, you're going to move up quicker because you're going to have done a lot of the hard work. So this is the email that Alexis sent me when I reached out to the Maryland soccer coaches and said, hey, I've noticed a lot of inboxes from students looking to get into sports. I would love to speak to any of the students on the Maryland women's soccer team if they're interested in getting into sports in general or communications. 2 students reached out, Hope and then also Alexis. So thank you both. Was very excited to hear from you. Didn't know if anybody would be interested, but I'm so glad that a couple were. And sounds like a lot of soccer players on this call. So maybe a few more are starting to think about their next step and or might just be here to support their incredible teammate, Alexis. But I'm gonna throw it to, well, here, I'll read it for the group. I know you're looking at it, but let's take a minute to read it. Because I wanna say, she says she's embarrassed of this now. This was a great first email, but there are a few things that we've since talked about how it could be just a little bit better to catch more eyes when you're reaching out to somebody that might not know who you are already. So it says, subject line, which is important, connecting with you. Then it says, good afternoon, Miss Dreska. My name is Alexis, and I am a rising senior and soccer player at University of Maryland. My assistant coach, Carrie D, I call her, forwarded your email to us as a resource for those interested in working with sports. During this time, as I think more about what I would like to do after graduation, working in sports is an interest to me as well as something I am considering. I am interested in the business side of sports, and I was wondering if you have had any time to connect to chat about your experience and if you would have any advice for me who is considering this option. Hope you are staying safe and look forward to hearing from you, Alexis. With this incredible footer. So I don't know if that was her doing, Marilyn made, kudos. Let's hear it. How'd this come to be, Alexis? What are you thinking about it now?
Well, when you read it, it actually isn't as bad as I thought, but but I don't know. They're just little things that I saw in there that I would have changed now, but I think you are right. As a first email, it is pretty good. I just wanted to make sure that I highlighted what I do like, and especially something that she's doing so that she knows that I'm interested in what she's doing. And then I could tell her later that I wasn't exactly sure, but that it is an interest for me. But yeah, I think looking back, it's not that bad. It's pretty good.
I'm glad you changed your mind. It's excellent. I think the couple of things that we spoke about, or really the main thing is finding that common ground, right? And so she did that, and then keeping it tight and brief. People are very busy in their day. You want to make sure it's something they read. And if it's too long, they might not look into it. And every person's different. So remember, this is my personal opinion from having received a lot of these. I love a quirky story or connection. And I also think putting in the subject line, maybe like in this case, I know Carrie D, she's wonderful. And if it was, oh, Carrie D connected through Carrie D, or something that shows the connection, I knew these were coming because I sent the initial email. But if I didn't, and I don't recognize Alexis's name right away, that's something that could draw my attention. I think the other, aside for it just being so tight and concise and to the point, I think the other great part is, the signature line, so impressive. Just again, when I was at school, not something that I had, or if I did not utilize it. So if you haven't started using it yet, hopefully you all are, but if you're not, try to figure that out in the next few days and set that up for the next time that you might reach out to someone. Okay, so next, Taylor. I'm gonna throw it to Taylor because Taylor and I got to know each other, and actually, speaking of connections, through Alexis. She doesn't know this, but because Alexis was doing the internship, she mentioned in one of our conversations, Marilyn Mead. And so I said, what's Marilyn Mead? She says, we have social media. So I say, okay, so I want to support Alexis. So I follow Marilyn Mead on social media. So I see that they're doing this program for former student athletes to meet current student athletes. So of course I say, oh, that's great. I want to support this. This is such a cool program. Again, good job, Tim and Risa. Amazing. We did not have this when I was in school. So I sign up, and I incredibly got paired with Taylor Ligori, who, look at that list of accolades, just a rising junior and has already done so many cool things. And I'm actually going to put her on the spot. And I will share an extra share. I told her I was going to put her on the spot, so it's not technically putting her on the spot because you would never want to do that. But I said, hey, I want to ask you about the 3 golden rules when you reach out for an informational interview. And she said, in 5 seconds, responded in text and says, oh, easy, no problem. And Taylor, what are they?
Okay, so the 3 golden rules for informational interviews are, first of all, you don't want to share the connections that have been given to you with any other people, especially for me and Molly and Alexis, communications world, they take that very seriously. So in networking, you don't want to just go around and if someone says, hey, who are you talking with? Don't just go sending around their email. It's very important that you personally connect with them, and these are important people that you're talking to, so you don't want to just go around sharing that information. The second one is to do research. I know Tim mentioned this before, but it's hard to go into a meeting and just be like, hey, this is who I am, who are you? Like, you should go in and understand who they are and who you're talking to. And then in that case, also you then should have questions based on who they are. And the third one is the handwritten thank you notes, as you see. that's something that was new for me personally. I got the first two. I think those are somewhat self-explanatory, but the handwritten notes was something that Molly introduced me to, which has definitely been helpful for me. It's helped me get more connections actually. So it's different just to send an email and like, hey, thank you so much for this. But handwritten notes show that you really took the time out of your day and you really appreciated all that the person you are networking with has done for you. So it's just a little extra something to show how appreciative you are.
Thank you so much, Taylor. You absolutely crushed that. She responded in 5 seconds and just she wrote the slide for me. This is exactly what she wrote me. I said, great, now I don't need to write the slide myself. I will follow up a little bit. When it comes to not forwarding contacts, yes, she is correct. With that said, and this is for just PR, definitely anyone interested in PR and communications, but also, everyone. If someone connects you to somebody, it doesn't mean that you won't share their contacts. Don't share them without having the conversation. So I share contacts all the time. As anybody that's worked with me knows, I've put them in touch with a bunch of people, but I check first and say, hey, I have this student that's interested in pursuing XYZ. Do you have some time? And depending on the time of year and what they have going on at work, they might say, yes, absolutely. They might say, hey, this is an insane month for me. Why don't we do it in the off season? So it's always good to check, because if they find out you've shared their contact with somebody without them knowing, that's just bad business practice. So that is the first one. She crushed it with the second one. Do your background research, everybody can find something in common with everybody. So it might be the smallest, littlest thing, but this is an incredible tactic, not just for reaching out for informational interviews, but anybody interested in communications. This is how I reach out to media. I research everything about them. You can find so much on the internet now. And I find out if we went to rival high schools coincidentally, even though they moved 3 times since then, or they wrote a story about something. And so I read it and I wanted to tell them, and I pick out a small sentence that really impacted me. And that goes a long way. That's meaningful. Think about the work that you've done. And if someone compliments you in a unique way that is just not something you've heard before, that makes you want to have that conversation. And anybody you contact in the business world is no different. People like to talk about themselves. They like to talk about connections. And of course they like compliments. Everyone likes compliments. And then the handwritten note thing, that's specific. And I'll get into mentors just shortly after this. But my mentor actually taught me that. And it's also something that I use not just in connections, but with media. And anytime I want to get in touch with somebody that I might not know, a lot of the times I really am sending them something in the mail. And so many times I get that reaction of, oh my gosh, like no one does this anymore. Thank you. That was so kind. So you make an impact on the person you're reaching out to. And I think have told Alexis and Taylor, and probably Hope, I keep the thank you notes that I get in the mail, and I keep them in a drawer on my desk, so that when someone reaches out to me, and this actually happened recently, I got a inbox from a major network saying, hey, we're looking for someone to fill this position. And then that makes me think, oh, okay, let me put this person is in that field. Let me suggest that they reach out to that person. So it helps, and you'd be surprised. Very few people, even though I'm saying it on this call and there's over 30 people here, I bet some of you are going to do it. Some of you might not, but I hope that you all do. And you are all the difference in the scale of everyone else that is not doing those little things, but it's the details.
I will jump in too and say that in this, I've had to learn this too, now being in this virtual space, and a lot of people work from home. So I was told to do thank you notes too, but I was not sure if I was to send it to their residence, and I didn't really want to ask for their home address. And I thought it was kind of weird. So I also kept that in mind and made sure to ask Molly where to send it and what the best address was to send those thank you notes in case people weren't in their office, to make sure that they got it. So I would just say, keep that in mind too, in this whole virtual environment, that it is important to send thank you notes, but also just ask addresses to send to too, because maybe people aren't in their offices yet and stuff too. So.
Yep, that's a great point, and especially now. And I think that's exactly it. That's the conversation that we had. Instead of saying, hey, what's your home address? I know you're not in your office. It's more of, hey, what's the best address to send you something now? I know everybody's all over the place. So that way, if they still want to give you their office, they give you their office, they get it in a few months whenever they get back in there. But it's up to them, and it's not, it might be a little aggressive saying, hey, like what's your home address? So something a little bit more general is a good way to ask that question. Mentors, this wasn't technically on the list of things to talk about today, and I know we're getting really tight on time. So I'll be brief with this, but I would be remiss if I did not talk about the great Angela Alfano. She is someone that Alexis hasn't quite met yet. I know she's been on a couple calls with, but Angela was my previous boss at MLS and has honestly taught me everything I know when it comes to this space and connecting. And like I said it earlier, but just being a good person and giving back to a school that's done so much. She's actually a Grady journalism graduate, which is the University of Georgia Journalism School. And so, she's a bulldog that we can all be friends with. Turtles and bulldogs don't really like fight, I don't think, so it should be fine. But she's incredible, and someone that if you are interested in getting into PR, she is the mastermind of corporate communications, and I would love to put you in touch if that's something that you're interested in. Okay, questions. I don't know if I left a lot of time for questions. Let me stop sharing this. Oh, real quick, this is when, I stopped sharing, but the first time that the University of Maryland ever beat UNC. We have 10 minutes left for questions. Okay, so I had to put the scoreboard up because never in the history of the Maryland program. Now I'm sure you guys don't play them anymore, or gals, but anyways, what do we got?
We're good. Thanks so much for the presentation, Molly and Alexis. And I know we have several minutes for questions. I want to make a quick announcement. I know the formal session today ends at 4 p.m. Eastern. So if you have other plans and need to jump off at 4 p.m., we understand. But we'll stay on till about 4:10, 4:15 to get some Q&A with Molly while we have her here. Molly, that work for your schedule?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I know Darby's going to kick us off with a question, and then we'll go to Adelie next.
Perfect. Hi, Molly. My question is, if you could give your younger self any advice, what would you say and why?
Good question. I have a lot of advice. So I don't know if it's just one piece, but I think as it pertains to this group, I think I said most of it earlier, but I'm going to repeat it because I think it's important. And I think it's really being a better listener. I was always so worried and focused on what I was doing, and I thought that was correct. I thought if I did what I needed to do, I would make the team better. I would make my group better in a class project. But I think really taking a step back and listening to what everybody else is doing and what everybody else needs and finding ways to elevate the rest of the group, that brings everybody up together. And I don't think I did that. I know I didn't do that enough when I was in your situation. So I would say just listening and being a good teammate. It's important.
All right, I'll go. So coming out of college, not really knowing, I guess, like what path you wanted to take or what did you want to do? Like, how did you initially get your first job and what made you realize that that was what you wanted to do?
Another good question. Okay. So my first job was actually an internship. Well, I think we'll start with internship because that was what I did right out of school. And essentially I had tore my ACL my sophomore year. So I had a 5th year to play for the semester. And I remember thinking, I love soccer. I've given my whole life to it. So I'm just going to focus. I'm not worried about work. And I remember that many people thought that was pretty wild. I should probably figure it out. It was not that long after I graduated in 2010. So it wasn't that long after the recession in 2008. So it was definitely not recommended to not be thinking about my next step, but that was me. I was focused on soccer. And my coach sent me an email and said like, hey, I think you'd be good at this. It was an unpaid internship with the NSCAA, which is now the USC. So it's the National Soccer Coaches Association of America. For those that don't know, they actually give out the All-America Awards. And it's the largest gathering of soccer coaches in the world. And I remember when he forwarded the email, I was like, oh yeah, he was such a guiding, a guiding light for me, both on and off the field. I know Brian Penske doesn't work at Maryland anymore. He's now with Tennessee, but he was somebody I just really looked up to and trusted. And he did a lot of work with us on both leadership and then on and off the field, not just playing on the field. And I think he did that in part because he really cared about us, but also again, that makes a better team. When you have a team full of leaders, your team is going to be more successful on the field. And so when he sent me that email, I was like, hey, I'll apply. So I applied, and it was right in the middle of the ACC tournament because Maryland was in the ACC at the time. And they wrote me back, probably not too dissimilar to our quick turn when we offered Alexis the position. They wrote me back on a Wednesday and said, hey, we need to know by Friday, like, we'd love to have you on board. And this was a move halfway across the country, to work for free. If somebody told me to do that now, I don't know what I would say, because it all worked out for me and it turned out really good. But it was kind of, I sat with my coach, he introduced me to some folks at the organization. And it just was something that I said yes. And part of it was we had beat Duke 1-0. I scored probably 5 goals in college. I scored the game-winning goal in the ACC semifinal to send us to the final. So I was like really pumped. And that was like the email I came back to after the game. So I have to include that part because I feel like it might have made, I felt like I could do anything. And then fast forward, a couple months later when I was supposed to just move to Kansas, I kind of was like, oh, I'm moving to Kansas, but I had already committed at that point. So that was my initial bit. But because of the convention and being the largest gathering of soccer coaches, I met so many people. It was a week, but I just met so many people. And again, didn't think of it as networking, but just thought of it as kind of hanging out, talking to like-minded people that we all had soccer in common. And I can do that, as you can probably tell, for an hour without even stopping. So I would say that. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead, Hope.
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned, like working through this pandemic and working online virtually, and how are you gonna apply that moving forward as we kind of transition to this semi-virtual, semi-in-person, or fully in-person world?
Wow, that's really good, Hope, because I think it's got two sides of it, right? And I think biggest lesson in general is probably one answer, but I think as it pertains to communication, because that's what I'll do. I'll go that route. And it's something that we actually, and Alexis was also on this meeting that we just talked about today. As PR people, we've always done these great big press events for media. And so I think something that we've learned was that we can also bring in media from all over the world. And since soccer is a global game, we're able to bring in media from all different places by having a hybrid event when it comes to the Zoom, but also you want to have the personal connection for anybody that is able to attend. But I think that's one big one when it comes to work specifically.
You got Christina, Brandon, then Mackenzie.
Okay, hi. So I noticed on your resume that when you were working with the Sporting Kansas City that you helped create and even launch their social media pages. What was that like for you, and how do you foresee social media playing a bigger part in the future?
Okay, I will tread lightly answering this because in my role now, I'm very PR focused. So I actually don't do social media anymore, but I did do it for Sporting, you're correct. So I'll talk about what that was like. I think you might know this, but what it was like was nobody knew what it was like. And so anyone that said otherwise at that time was probably not overly honest because it was all happening in real time. And so when someone would come in and say, I'm an expert in social media, I think now it's a little different. I think now there are people that are really, really focused on this. But at that time, it was kind of, you're one of the younger people at the organization, kind of figure it out. And so I think that's the opportunity that this is always going to happen. There's always going to be new things. And I don't think it's just social. I think video content overall, there's always new tools. And again, not even just content, but there's so many things that as you're in school now that we've been removed. So even when it comes to AP style, that's something that continuously changes. So that's something that I could lean on you all when you reach out and I could say, hey, can you, do you know if this is the latest when it comes to AP style? So I think it was wild times. I'm glad that it's starting to be easier, or that there are now coming into experts. But it was definitely a lot of trial and error. and figuring out what our audience wanted to see, and then kind of pushing more of that type of content.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Sorry, remind me again, Christina, were you interested in content?
Yeah, well, right now I'm studying digital and media communication. So that's like a huge interest of mine, and especially utilizing technology and social media to promote businesses as well.
Okay, so one interesting thing for sporting when I was there, I really did do a little bit of everything. And so website, creating content. I did broadcast game analysis for our second division team, edited videos, produced videos, but then also the traditional side of PR when it comes to pitching stories and working with media. Here at MLS, it's much more streamlined focused of specifically PR. So none of the content side. And it's interesting. And one thing I will suggest, and I'm glad you asked this question because it reminded me to say this, is trying it all. Sporting was such a great opportunity for me because I got to see all of it and find out the things I liked, but also the things I didn't like and knew I wanted to move away from. So I do definitely, because there's so many facets of communication, I recommend trying it. And because you're at Maryland, you have that opportunity to help with social media accounts and create content and create videos. So I suspect you're already doing that, but if you're not already, make sure you're working on some of those accounts and getting some experience while you're still in school.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course. Who's next, Sam? I lost track.
I'm next. So I saw that you held like countless internships and like job positions. So I was just wondering, like, which point, whether it was like a certain moment or internship, when did you feel like confident that the industry was truly for you?
Oh, that's also a good question. You guys are really crushing it with the questions. I would say at day one, I think because it was soccer, like I always loved it. That's another thing I say, and I probably sound like a broken record. There's never been a day I've woken up and thought, man, I don't want to go to work today. I think I have a pretty optimistic personality in general, but I think that's a really good feeling. And that's what I want out of work. But I also think there's two types of people. Some people want to work 9 to 5, make a lot of money, and then travel and vacation and do things in their off time. And then I think there's people who just really live to work. And that's me. And if you want to work in sports, I recommend you're more in that category, just because I work so many nights and so many weekends, but my work is going to soccer games and watching soccer games. And so it's so enjoyable. Now, with that said, I actually read an article recently that said why I was shocked. It said why telling people to chase their passion is bad advice. And I was like, oh no, I've been doing this for years, telling everyone, find your dream job. There's a million jobs in the world. Everybody can find the one that they truly love. The gist of the article was to say that you might not know what your passion is if you haven't experienced it. So for me, I transitioned to soccer and it's been wonderful, but I don't know that there's not a job out there that I might like even more. I think this is a good example. Tim asked me to kind of come hang out with you all, get to know student athletes. I love it. So this is something that I'm able to now do in addition. Maybe it's not my job, but I get to hang out with you guys and figure out, make it a little easier for you than it might have been for me. But I had no idea until I randomly connected with Tim, about doing this stuff, right? So it's a tough one, but that's why the informational interviews can make such a difference, because and why I focus in when everybody was talking on connecting with people in the field that I want to be in. Connect with everybody. There's nobody that, you can't connect with everybody, but connect with people. Just get to know people, and then you might find out that there's something that you like that you didn't know. Long-winded again, sorry. Thanks, Brandon, good question.
Hi, Molly. You talked about the importance of having a growth mindset. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about how you overcame kind of that fear of failure when you were first going into the workplace.
I would say that something I that it wasn't when I was first going into the workplace. That was with me for a really long time. When I talk about the growth mindset, this is a epiphany from quarantine book reading, really. I was confident on the soccer field, but I also tore 2 ACLs. So I even on the soccer field, the one thing that was just my thing that I was so confident in, you get knocked down when you get hurt like that, right? When you're out for that long. I don't know how many of you on here have had those types of injuries, but I suspect quite a few. And that definitely knocks your confidence. So even on the field, that was able to happen. So going into the workplace, it was like, I didn't feel prepared. And I think that's the key, feeling prepared. And so you all doing this, you're going to feel so much more prepared to put yourself out there and to participate in conversations and to raise your hands in meetings because you've done these types of things and talk to people that are in those positions that are helping you and telling you, here might be how you contribute to those conversations. For me, it was a lot of not feeling confident and not speaking in meetings right? Like I talk a lot, but I walked into a boardroom and it was like deer in headlights, like terrified, get me out of there. I can speak to you guys because I just feel like we're all friends here. But when I would walk into a boardroom, I was really just uncomfortable because all my meetings were on a soccer field, in a huddle, in a locker room. And it took me years to realize I had all the skills I needed. I just needed the confidence. And that's something that reading, failing, experiencing has helped with. But I hope that you just have that confidence because you're preparing yourself and you're already putting the work in. I hadn't done that. I didn't have the leadership and the mentors to instruct me to do it. And those that did, I didn't do a good job listening to them.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Of course. Who's next?
Hi, Molly. I'm next.
Brittany.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking on everything you've said, which has been extremely helpful. Thank you. What would be your best advice as far as navigating when you figured out which path you wanted to take? So like, for example, I kind of have a couple different paths of career options, but I'm really not sure where to even start.
Okay, and I correct me if I'm wrong. I am getting better at listening, but I have a pretty bad memory, so that's why I write it all down. You said you wanted to play professionally first.
Yes.
Okay, and then what's your next step?
Criminal justice field, so possibly investigator or some type of detective field. Not sure.
That's right. Okay. So I think now, because we have the internet and we have so many resources at our fingertips, I will say play as long as your body allows, right? And I think everyone's going to give different advice on that. For me, I love the game so much. And so I definitely, I think when I was young, people said, you can be anything you want to be. And then when you get to be a middle school teenager, I think people stop telling you that, right? And so for me, it was like just needing that extra push, that reassurance. Like, I want to be that. I know Tim wants to be that for you. So go for what you want. Don't think what's attainable. Think, what do I, if I was by myself and I just screamed out loud, this is what I want to be when I grow up, what is the real answer? Not just what you think you're capable of doing, and then try to get that, right? So I think for you want to be a professional athlete. I think it's so awesome that you said that in front of a group of people and are like, I am so confident that this is what I want. So go get that, right? But while you're doing that, because the internet makes things more accessible, you're able to learn and research some of the other stuff that you might have talked about with what your next step could be. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. But always go for what you want. Don't go for what you think you can achieve. Aim high. Who else? Got a couple more hands raised.
I think I was next. Yeah.
Go ahead.
First of all, I wanted to say that I love it that you still have your shirt hanging behind you on the wall.
That's right. Let's go. Go Terps.
So my question was especially regarding internships and all that. You said that you didn't have much experiences and working experience because you're an athlete, obviously. So did it ever work against you? And also, if you hire people, is that something you really look at, even though they're athletes? And what if you do not have had much time and many experiences for this reason? Like, how do you still like reach all your goals you want to meet?
I think it's a good question, though I'm not 100% sure how to answer it. So I'll do my best. I think it set me back a little not having had internships? Yes, agree. But have I accomplished the things that I want to accomplish, and am I on a trajectory of where I want to be going? Also agree, yes. So I don't think anyone here that maybe hasn't done internships yet should think, oh, I really messed up. You're just a little behind, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be extremely successful. I didn't do any internships in college, and actually I majored in business. I think it was mentioned earlier, and I don't know if this has changed, but it wasn't required to do an internship for graduation. Whereas I know a couple of other majors at Maryland, it is required. Kind of wish maybe it had been, because I think that would have helped a lot. And less just to put on a resume, but just more just the skills that you learn from a real life experience outside of the classroom. But I think all of these things, like even coming to this class, you're acquiring some of those things. So if you don't have the time maybe for a full-time internship, but you're still working with Tim and Risa and finding ways to engage off the field, that's what you need. You need the skills. I didn't have confidence because even though I had the skills to be good at something, but when it came to, I talked about this before, but do you all use track changes in Word documents? Does everyone know what that is? Anyone? A couple of people shaking their heads. Okay, I am in communications, majored in business, had never used track changes. So when what track changes is, it's basically everyone can edit a document, but underline the changes they make. So executives were sending me documents asking me to mark it up and use track changes, and I just had no idea what it was. And that to me, I was a few years into my career when I realized I didn't know how to do that. So those types of things, yes, I was behind, but you put your head down, you grind, and you figure it out. So, do I regret the path I've had? Definitely not. I've worked some incredible, I worked, turning the camera a little bit. I don't want to make everyone too dizzy, but that is the 2015 Women's World Cup team signed jersey from having worked the World Cup when they won. And, I was there on the field doing content post game. So I've been, my past's been a little bit, I liken it to a leaf, kind of where the wind blew. If I could go back, I would have done a few things to get myself a little bit more ahead, but am I happy and cruising along to where I should be? Yeah.
I will quickly say too, I didn't really have any experience in sports comm. So this is like my first real experience getting like in the PR and comm space like that. I did internship and I did it with social media, but with the University of Maryland Office of Communication. So it was just a school-wide, but this is my first real experience in terms of social media. So I'll say my resume wasn't that lengthy either in what I wanted to do, but based off of networking and talking to Molly and saying I wanted to go back to school, but I still want this real world experience, she was able to work with me to get that. So like the networking piece and talking to people and being honest with people about what you want to do, it'll open opportunities too, so.
Thank you, both of you.
Hi. Sorry, my mic. Okay, yeah. I have a question about networking and making connections. So I really enjoy doing that in person, but when it's over social media or even Zoom, I get worried that I'm not representing myself like the exact way that I want to. Like when it's in person, it feels like super organic and it's easy and I can listen. But then when you're just like reading an email or like looking at a small picture of someone's face on Zoom, I feel like it's hard for me to like really represent my genuine self. Do you have any advice about that?
Probably don't let your computer crash twice when you've asked to speak with students, when you're trying to show what you should do. I think in a good way, the Zoom world's been just, this last year and a half has just been so challenging for everybody that it's been making people a lot more understanding. And so it's actually I don't necessarily have advice of how to be, more comfortable on a call versus in person than just practice. But I will say, people are just like, stuff happens. Kids are running in the background, parents are running in the background, computers are crashing, and we just move on. It's actually by pushing yourself to do this in a kind of this different, weirder environment, you're going to get even better at doing it in person. And I'm with you. I am like, Tim, get everybody to New York City. We got to get everybody in the conference room and do this in person when we could have hugs again and high fives. I'm much more awkward on phone calls. So I'm with you, but I think, yeah, spring 2022. But I think that it's almost like get yourself doing it, because then when you're in person, it's just going to be a complete breeze. So no, I don't have the magic. I definitely don't have the magic answer to making it less awkward or solving all the technical difficulties. I came into the office today to make sure that I had no technical difficulties instead of working from home. And it still happens, but look how quickly we just rebounded and kept going, right? It was all part of the plan.
Thank you.
Of course.
I was wondering, you mentioned you did some reading that kind of helped with confidence and like outlook. Do you have any book suggestions or recommendations?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I know I mentioned this earlier, but this is the one that's just on my mind right now, just because it made such a significant impact. But when I talk about the growth mindset, I actually read Carol Dweck's book, who was, I think, the original researcher of the growth mindset. And so I know it sounds like a lot of you already know what that is, so that I don't know if that would be boring for you, but it put a lot of things into perspective, and also how to, not just for my own life, but also how to talk to other people that might be. And so, and so, for example, one of the things that I said when we started this call was everyone's day is hard, right? Everyone's going through something. I don't know what you're able to contribute today, but give what you can, give your best. And I think one of the things that she talks about in that book a lot is just focusing on effort and not the end result. And we're all athletes, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you like the W isn't the most important thing, because come on, like we want the W, but when it comes to life, it's the effort, just like it is in the game. You don't get the W without the effort. Still want the dub, but that would be the one that's on my mind right now. That's a good question though. Does anyone on the call have a good suggestion? Tim probably has some good ones.
Yeah, I just dropped one in the chat. It's called Executive Presence by Sylvia Ann Hewlett.
Love that.
That was dope. That one, and she has another book called Forget a Mentor, Find a Sponsor. And we'll bring you back to talk about sponsors, Molly, another day, because that's a whole different level of engagement.
I need to figure that out. I was pumping up mentors.
Oh yeah, we'll talk more about that at another time. But I want to first say thank you for your presentation. You as well, Alexis, for just being here. Your presence made a difference. Two, y'all's leadership and being able to share authentically and transparently, really who you are, who y'all are, but also the lessons you learn and the mistakes you don't want others to make, right? Or mistakes and different decisions you don't want others to make. I know I've been talking about LinkedIn a lot over the last week, not just with Intern, but also with Gossip Fellows. And so before we go, I was trying to figure out how, Molly, you and I connected, and I realized it actually was from LinkedIn. So you showed Alexis's email that she sent you, and so I'm going to share the message I sent you back in, I think it was February. Oh, snap, not wrong one. Back in February 4th. You remember this, Molly?
Yeah,
and
I was pumped.
In the connection, and as I said last week, who I am, my role, would love to connect and stay in touch. And again, the biggest takeaway is to get out of the DM, like get the email. Got the email, connected, and so now we're here. So again, we know, and I'm glad that you were able to show up today. But this won't be the last time that you will participate and facilitate as part of our Maryland Mate program. So thank you so much. Before we hop off though, Molly, can you share your email in the chat for those who want to connect via email? I'm going to send it something tomorrow as well, but I want to make sure those who are eager to connect sooner can do so as well.
Of course.
Alexis, you can share your email. Your MLS email, Alexis? Not yet? Dang.
No, I'm only working for the summer. So
no worries. Well, cool. I'm gonna hit stop recording right now. So again, thanks for everyone for coming to our session today. Again, Molly, I'll probably stay on for 5 minutes to just debrief with you for a second.
Perfect.
Everyone, thank y'all again. I'll see y'all next week.
Before everyone hops, reach out. Would love to hear from you. Want to know more about you. Wrote my notes, so hopefully I did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.